Dexter Resurrection is back this week with episode 7, and with another seat being taken away at Prater's table, there now just leaves 2. In this week's episode, we saw the theory about Mia potentially still being alive being put to bed, the Gemini Killer meeting his match in Dexter, which, let's be honest, was always going to be the case. Leon Prater showing himself to be an even more sick individual than what we thought, and an ending which showed us that Dexter could end up leading Batista to Leon Prater and uncovering him to be a sinister individual. So with that, let's dive into this week's episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is Dexter Resurrection episode 7, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The importance of the ending. When it came to the ending of this episode, with Batista sticking his nose in, he's sitting there thinking that he's going to uncover Dexter as being the dark passenger, or even find proof that's connected to the fact that he's killing innocent victims. But in reality, the importance of this ending is that Leon Prater and the secrecy that he has, which is the very thing that he prides his addiction to the serial killers on, is at risk of being exposed, because Dexter could end up leading Batista to the doorstep of the person that's arguably just as sick as the killers. Right at the end of the episode, we saw that Batista left his AirPods inside of Dexter's car deliberately, and something that's been made a point of a lot throughout this season is that whenever Dexter goes to Prater's mansion, he drives himself. It was even shown to us again when they got back from the castle and he declined a ride. With Leon Prater saying to Dexter that there was going to be one final dinner before this year's meeting concluded, we're most likely going to see Dexter driving his car to Prater's mansion. Batista could end up following the tracker, and then that's where he could uncover the likes of Rapunzel, Dexter, Prater, and Charlie. A combination of people that will be very suspicious alongside one another. I even wonder if there could potentially be a sacrificial killing that takes place. This could lead to a couple of different things. The first is that Angel could end up being killed because, as we've seen with Charlie, she's hired to protect and basically kill on sight if there are any threats. Or Batista could end up being the very person that reveals that Dexter isn't in fact Red Schmid, and it could turn the final dinner on its head. So what Batista has just done in putting that tracker there is probably the catalyst for what will most likely be some extremely eventful and dramatic moments in the final couple of episodes. Even he doesn't know just how big it's going to get. There's going to be consequences, and I can't wait to see if Batista's going to get out of here alive, or if Dexter's going to end up having his identity revealed because of it. I actually think Batista might end up going to the likes of Detective Wallace when Dexter's at Prater's to see if she wants to go with him. But with Dexter planting that very idea in her mind that he was going off the rails following his partner being revealed to be the Bay Harbor Butcher, and it's seeming like the deterioration of his life is what's causing him to have this obsession, she won't go with him, and she'll most likely no longer take him seriously. So that's why he'll end up going on his own. Dexter covered his tracks. Last week, there were literally 2 Gemini killers, and now, well, there's none. Dexter ended up confronting Gareth about the fact that he knew that he was a twin and that they operated as a pair, something which Gemini was impressed with. However, when Dexter wanted to know more information about how they operated, he insisted that he couldn't share any more information. But because of his ego and the fact that he loved to talk about himself because he saw himself as simply the best, he couldn't help himself, tying into a core trait of the character. During this scene, Dexter also revealed that he killed the twin, and that's what led the remaining twin to attack Dexter with his wine glass, ultimately resulting in Dexter killing him where he stood and wiping out the other Gemini killer. This episode was called Course Correction, and that's basically what Dexter did in this singular scene because he made out like Gareth was planning on killing the likes of him, Al, and Lowell, and he pinned the disappearance of Lowell on him. So Dexter wasn't seen as being suspicious anymore, even though Charlie had her doubts because the Gemini Killer loved to kill in twos, so it was out of character. During the show and tell element of the episode, we saw how Al operated, and it was exactly as I thought it'd be from him. He's a happy, friendly guy on the surface level, but when in the kill mode, he was an obsessed individual that was deranged, and that's exactly what it was. He was fixated on the screen and looked so evil and menacing and like he was enjoying it, and that's what led Dexter to want to kill the likes of Gareth because he hated the way that they operated. What's interesting about this episode was that Dexter managed to cover his tracks and correct the course in one element of his life, which was having the killers off of his back. But in the other element, with the likes of Batista, it was about to get even crazier, so the chaos is far from over. We even saw Dexter being there for Harrison in a way that he never thought that he could be. Going to view a college with him and supporting him in a way where his future was going to keep him on the straight and narrow, rather than leaning into those dark tendencies that were there. I also think Harrison's story is about to get a whole lot crazier. Elsa mentioned in this episode again that her landlord was being difficult with her, and I imagine Harrison is going to take matters into his own hands and make the landlord pay, especially if he tries to throw Elsa out, which it seems like he's going to do. Gigi in the college seemed like a good future for him, but I don't think his future is going to get as far as that because it's definitely going to be disrupted. Dexter might end up blaming himself, but the reality of it is, if it's in his son, there's simply nothing he's going to be able to do about it. Leon Prater's background. Prater said honesty is the best policy, and through Dexter being dishonest about being the dark passenger, he connected into how he truly felt about killing the likes of serial killers and having this mask that he had to put up when he didn't kill, because he was his true self when he was killing people. This was something that, interestingly enough, Prater related to, and he even revealed to Dexter about the death of his parents and how Colin, the person that was responsible for the hit and run, actually did it deliberately driving his car into them so he could let out his anger. Prater even said how Colin had killed before, and this was what kickstarted Prater's obsession with killers and their minds, often feeling like he related to them more than he did his own parents, hence why he befriended the very person who ended his parents' life. Prater said how Dexter was the person that reminded him most of his old friend in the jail cell that gave him his first trophy. And he went on to say a very interesting line, which was, "The truth is never boring. You never know what it might spark in someone." It made me question if Prater truly knows that Dexter isn't Red, and he's simply going along with it. Leon Prater is a man who's well connected, so I do find it difficult to believe that he doesn't truly know about Red, and even that Gareth wasn't a twin. He feels like the sort of person that would go along with it with ulterior motives. After all, he is known to lie, because he didn't reveal that he was responsible for Mia's death. But maybe his motto from speaking with Colin about being honest stemmed from him simply finding out the truth about his parents' death. Leon also revealed to everybody that Mia had died whilst in her cell, and there was something that didn't quite sit right with me about him standing in the castle drinking the wine that she absolutely loved whilst being responsible for the death of her. As he took a sip of the red wine, it was almost as if he was drinking the blood of Mia in a symbolic way. Leon Prater is genuinely one of the most interesting characters in the show, and the way that Charlie was protective of him being spotted at the castle due to the exposure that was present, but him disregarding her was rather interesting. Charlie also got a focus with the whole mask being taken down speech that happened. I'm presuming this is to do with her sick mother and the fact that she's not her true self with the only person that she has in her life that she cares about. Was that the voice of the New York Ripper? During this episode, we finally got a bit more information about the New York Ripper. We heard his voice, but if I'm being honest, I don't actually think that that's him. This killer was around when Prater was a kid, so one would imagine that they could be around 15 to 20 years older than Prater, and the voice didn't sound like an elderly man in the slightest. The New York Ripper hasn't killed for a long time, but they're said to be tormenting the family's victims by calling them up and going into detail about the deaths of the people that they cared for. One theory is that this could be a copycat or an enthusiast. I actually feel like it could potentially be Prater that's on the phone. We've seen how infatuated he is by all of the deaths that the serial killers commit, and the enjoyment that he got in that video summed up the excitement. So there's nothing to say that maybe he can't bring himself to killing, so tormenting the families and going into detail about what he knows about one of the most prolific serial killers in the city could be the next best thing. I don't actually think we're going to find out the identity of the New York Ripper in this season of the show. I think it's going to be something that runs through into the next season if we're lucky enough to get a second. My review of the episode. As per usual, the show is just getting better and better week after week. It's been following a formula of killing off one of the serial killers every single week, but even still, when it happens, it catches me by surprise. I thought the killing of the Gemini Killer felt appropriate and like the right one, and I'm glad that they've left Al until the end, because judging by those facial expressions that he had when he was watching the video of killing the woman, he's a sick individual that I can't wait to see have their comeuppance. Finding out a bit more of Leon Prater's backstory was something that I was glad we got a bit more of, because he's been such a mysterious character throughout the entirety of the show. Hearing how he befriended his mother and father's killer, and that was how he ended up in this position of collecting serial killers' trophies, and the fascination that he had with them was extremely interesting. Does anybody else really like the short burst of cuts that occur at the beginning of the episode where we get a slight preview of what's on the horizon? I absolutely love them, and for me it builds excitement for the episode in a way that I didn't expect, because when it starts I'm usually so ready for it. One of my favourite moments in the episode was definitely when Dexter got the better of Gareth. I loved the way that he went from acting like he was obsessed with him to then just being all up in his grill and giving him that burst of honesty where he told him that he killed his twin. Even that final slash that he gave, where Gemini said, "He killed my brother," being prepared to ruin his own secret in order to expose Dexter. It was a gruesome moment that was horrific to look at, but the outsmarting by Dexter again was just top tier. One thing that this show has going in its favour is that every single arc in the show is just as interesting as the one that comes before it. So whenever you cut away from the main story, the likes of Harrison or Batista or Detective Wallace, you're still just as gripped in the story as what you were before it changed. So not only is the pacing bang on, but the writing of all of the characters is just great too. Honestly, I can't believe we've only got 2 episodes left of the season. It's absolutely flown by, and I can't wait to see next week when Dexter potentially drops the likes of Leon Prater right in it. So, there you have it. Dexter Resurrection Episode 7, Ending Explained. If you want to see more episodes of Dexter Resurrection being broken down, then check the playlist below. What did you think of this episode? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.